Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a very special episode of the Mission Empowered podcast because this episode is the first episode that I can say I am pregnant. There is a little baby in my belly that is joining us on this podcast episode. So, yeah, if you're not here for this episode, skip along, no problem. But yeah, this episode I really hope is going to be. I hope all of my episodes are good and get listened to a lot and helpful. But I genuinely, this is the episode that I wish I had when I found out I was pregnant. Like, this is what this is going to be, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about when we found out and how I'm gonna tell you a lot about how I felt, but I just really want to help someone. That is the bottom line, is that I felt like, and I reckon I'm going to cry as well if I'm being dead honest. So it's a bit rubbish that I don't know how to edit my podcast, because I'm sure YouTubers or people who do podcasts professionally can cry, cut, and then start again, whereas I can't. So I'll try not to, but I just feel like, yeah, let's get into it. So I am just over 14 weeks pregnant now. And when today is, I went to say today is 3:00, the 27th of March. So I announced my pregnancy last Sunday, which was like the 24th, 23rd, something like that. So literally a couple of days ago. Where are we? 24th, yeah. So that's when I was like decided, okay, it's time for the world to know. And part of the reason was that I actually filmed myself doing a workout on the Saturday, and I was like, I'm definitely showing. Like, I'm not getting away with this much longer. But also, as well, I can't click off that, not to me. But also, as well, I was like, I want to start talking about it. I knew that when I started talking about it, I would feel better. And yeah, so it's only been a few days, and I was so right. So right. The last 3 days, I have been the happiest. Told you I was going to cry. Where are we? 2 minutes in. I have been like the happiest, just biggest feeling of relief since I've been pregnant. And I genuinely didn't know how much I needed to tell people and how much I needed to share about it. And I think that's probably a reflection of me as a person, of how honest I am. And keeping all of that in for so long was just really not good for like me mentally, obviously. So yeah, I just want to say, first of all, thank you for everyone who sent me a message and has been super honest and sent a lovely congratulations. Like, love that. Thank you so much. And yeah, it has honestly made the biggest difference to my mental health. Okay, so let's start from the top. I've got no idea how long this pod is going to be. If it is waffling and I get to half an hour and I have got still so much to go in, I will do a part 2. Okay, so we're going to aim for like the half an hour mark, but we'll see how we get on. So yeah, so a little bit of a backstory. Also, probably the most honest podcast, rawest podcast as well. But I feel like I need it. I need it. I need to offload. So this is what I'm going to do. So me and Ols knew we wanted to have a baby this year, and you may have heard me talk about it probably on podcast last year in episodes and over my Instagram. Last year, I started to do things to prep for getting pregnant. So I was taking like my folic acid. Even though I had a photo shoot in September, I didn't necessarily diet for it. It was all about strength and, being in good nick. But I didn't necessarily like trim down for it. And yeah, I was taking my supplements. I was making sure my food was good. My sleep was a priority. Basically, my health was a priority. And I think doing the job that I do, so being a health coach, being a pre and postnatal specialist, doing lots of research, I was reading a lot about what happens to women over the age of 30 and how much, our fertility can be effective and things we need to do in place. But for me, I just feel like there is a lot of external pressure. And I was like, I just don't want to be put in a box of like with an expiry date on it. And, for me, my life, my business only really took off when I was like 30. Then we got married. Then we went on a honeymoon. Like it for me and Ollie, it just wasn't like the right time for us on our relationship. So we basically said, right, I'm going to be 35 this year. We know that we want to have kids in 2024. Like that was our thing. And I think subconsciously I'd set myself up of we're going to struggle. Like there's too much information out there. Like what are they called? You know, like my numbers are going against. Like I don't know. I just think doing what I do, knowing what I know. I think I'd probably talk myself into it. Anyway, so in my head, I'd be honest with you, I was like, it's probably going to be the end of the year, you know, mid to end of the year that we're gonna get pregnant. And in my head, I'd already set up. In my head, I'd already said, well, if it doesn't happen by 6 months, we'll go and get tested and we'll start. And I just sort of told myself this narrative, and which is sad, but again, this is just my story and just my opinion. I want to just be super honest with you. So, and being the person that I am, so I am a bit of a control freak, and I think you have to be when you run your own business. You have to be a little bit. My mum and dad always say that I'm bossy. I am. I'm not even going to say that I'm not. I am, but it only normally comes from a good place because I just feel like I can get things done quicker. I know the right way, you know. Anyway, so in my head, because I told myself this narrative, I just thought, well, that's how it's going to go because I've decided that's how it's going to go. That's how it's going to go. Okay, so imagine being bossy, being in control, having that narrative, having that like life plan for the next 6 months. Then alongside that, having these business plans, having these physique plans, training plans, like everything was just in my head was just set up. Okay, so Christmas just gone, amazing, great time, literally, girls went for it. Okay, so over the years you've heard me talk about like going out, like, you know, on the trot, not my thing anymore, like two other things. Well, Christmas is probably one of my favorite times of year, and I milked it. Go for a meal, I'm there. Going for drinks, I'm there. Like, honestly, because in my head, I was like, I'm probably going to be pregnant this time next year, or hopefully going to be pregnant. Make the most of it, you know? Like, that was my train of thought. So, using logic, what happens when we go on the piss? When we go out for meals, we put a bit of weight on, okay? And I was like, this is so fine because post-Christmas, I will just trim up. I know how to do it. I know it'll take me a few weeks and I will be A-okay. So, full transparency, over Christmas, I put about 7 to 8 pounds on. Not like a huge amount, and honestly, I wasn't shocked because, yeah, I think for like the last 2 weeks in December, every day something social was on, and I'm totally owning it. I'm all about owning your actions. So, anyway, so I got into January and I was like, right, head down, like get in training, start tracking, you know, give it a few weeks and you're going to feel sound. So that's what happened. And I was like, right, getting into it. And then was going for walks over the weekend and stuff. And I remember talking to one of my friends and who was wanting to get pregnant as well this year. And we were chatting and I was like, yeah, you know, we're gonna see how we get on. We're not gonna put any pressure on ourselves. So something I probably should say is last year when I said about prepping for it, I was tracking my periods. I used the Flow app, recommend it. It's free. If you're not using it, you should be tracking your period. You should know if you're ovulating. Like I was doing all that stuff. Okay, so I knew when I was ovulating. I knew when I was due on, and again, my cycle isn't like clockwork. Okay, it's a few days here and there, and that again, completely normal, completely fine. You do not need to have a, you know, time and day cycle all of the time. So yes, so I was talking to my friend and I said, we're not like, you know, having sex on ovulation and, you know, really being regimented about it. Like when we're going to give it 6 months and see how we get on. Okay. Also, this is so funny that I'm talking about all of this on the podcast, but anyway, let's roll with it. So yeah, so I was talking to my friends and I said, I'm due on anyway. I've got the symptoms. I know for me, sore boobs, cramps, tired. I knew it was coming. I was due on. So that was that walk. The following week, which is when I was due on, I had to make a brew and everything for this podcast. So it was a Thursday because I was at CrossFit. And I remember, because us girls do, don't you? You know when you've come on. You just know. You have that feeling. So I was in CrossFit and I was like, oh, crap, I've come on. So trained anyway, like went home, got in the shower, got on with work. Didn't actually think about it. Just didn't think about anything of it until that night I was like, oh, hang on, I thought I came on this afternoon and I never. Anyway, so me and Ols were going on holiday, if anyone remembers, Lanzarote in January, because everyone thinks we were on like a health retreat, and we'll get to that part in a minute. So I said to Ollie, because I don't know if anyone else has ever had this, when you're due on and you don't come on, you stress about not coming on and then you don't come on even more, right? That happens with me. So I was like, we're going on holiday the next day. I'm going to do a pregnancy test. I'm going to know that it'll say negative. Then I won't stress and then I'll come on. It'll all be fine. Okay? Bosh, done. So, well, we all know what the outcome of the story is. Long story short, I got up on that Friday morning, 5:30, 20 to 6, whatever it was, quickly grabbed this pregnancy test, grabbed this pregnancy, just laughing, thinking about it, went for a wee, peed on the stick. As I put the stick on the side, like literally put the lid on, went to put it on the side, I seen that it come up pregnant. So I put it on the side and I thought, no, don't look at it because that just might be doing its thing. And I said to Ollie, I'm just going to set the camera up because I'm pretty sure that this test says pregnant on it. And he was like, what? And I was like, it probably doesn't, but I'm pretty sure it just said it when I put it on the side. Like, but I haven't looked at it yet because it says wait 3 minutes. So I set my camera up and I have got the video and I am going to share it. And I have got girls the fucking ugliest pajamas on. They are about 6 years old. Nan, Marks and Spencer's pajamas. Anyway, so I set the camera up and I like got the test, picked it up off the side, didn't look, and just said 1, 2, 3, and it come up 2 to 3 weeks pregnant. I am not joking. There was no elation. I'm going to be dead honest. There was no elation. There was nothing but absolute shock. I kid you not. I started like sort of hyperventilating, like I just couldn't get my head around it. How has this happened? Because as I said before, I track everything on my app. So I was tracking the days I was ovulating, the day I was due on, the day that we were having sex. I was putting this all in the app just for like information. So again, if you are thinking about conceiving or doing that, make sure you're doing all of that. And like we didn't like, how could I say it? I'm just going to say it. But we didn't have sex on the days that I was ovulating on the app, okay? So for me, I just couldn't get my head around it. I don't know whether I'd missed something or tracked it wrong. By the by, it is what it is now. I'm pregnant. So I just couldn't get my head around it. I'd had the symptoms of coming on my period. I didn't know what being pregnant felt like. I didn't feel pregnant. And I felt pretty normal, yeah. Anyway, so that Friday, so found out I was pregnant, shock, couldn't fucking believe it. And you know what we did? We still went to the gym. We went to the gym, 6 a.m, went to the gym, just found out that I'm pregnant. I remember being in the gym and feeling like, what am I doing? I think I cried in the gym. Anyway, it was weird. I seen my friend in the gym and I just had to go, hiya. Like, it was so weird. So yeah, that happened. That's how we found out. Then we went on holiday the next day. We went to Lanzarote. Didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to tell anyone. I couldn't even think about it myself. By the way, this is definitely going to be a two-parter. Couldn't think about it myself. Well, not couldn't think about it, but couldn't wrap my own head around it. But I'm so grateful that we went on holiday. Downside of being on holiday and being very early pregnant for me, I didn't feel pregnant. I actually didn't feel any different at all. But obviously, you can't drink. You can't do caffeine. And again, for me, knowing what I know for my job, being a pre and postnatal specialist, it's like ingrained in me. I am just each to their own and the choices when you're pregnant, but at the same time, each to their own if you don't want to do it. And I was one of them. Like, I knew too much. I'd read too many studies. I've seen it. So no caffeine, no alcohol, no sushi, stuff like that. So we had booked this beautiful hotel. If you'd seen it, it was gorgeous, adults only. Guys, I'd paid for a room upgrade and this like prosecco-y, not necessarily like all inclusive, but you got access to like champagne breakfast and this breakfast bar, because our little Lanzarote holiday was mine and Ollie's Christmas present to each other. And we were like, let's just go and have some nice time together before we start thinking about having a baby. And we'll just have this, last hurrah holiday. Nice. So anyway, that all went out the window. The hotel had this gorgeous sushi bar where you did sushi lessons. On the hotel activities, guess what they had every day? Margarita class, sangria class. What else did they have that we didn't fucking go to? Just, loads of fun stuff that you'd have at an adult only. So not only was we on holiday, I didn't feel pregnant. I felt fat after Christmas. I then had to get my head around I was pregnant. And it was a lot. I love a black coffee, couldn't have a black coffee. It was literally like everything at once. That is how I can describe it. Now, I really wanted to say at the beginning, I forgot to say this. Everything I am saying does not take away from the fact that I am incredibly grateful at how fast I got pregnant, at how, the process I got pregnant. Like, I am grateful. And I think the society we live in, and like I said before, with everything that we hear about the age of 30 or 35 and going towards that the odds are against us, I do feel like society's like, you should feel nothing but gratitude. Like, you shouldn't, say that you feel, a shock or say that you feel sad. Well, I'm going to get to that in a minute. But, and I feel like that's so unfair. Finding out you are pregnant is definitely a happy time. But actually, for me, at the beginning, it was shock. I still can't find the words to actually describe how I felt, because it wasn't that I felt sad. Well, it was a little bit, but I'll talk about that in 1 second. It was the shock. And then the shock was followed by, why aren't I elated? Why is everything I'm feeling? Why is everything I'm feeling not, like, why is the joy not overriding that? And because I was trying to find something to say. This is normal. This is okay. Like, that is all I wanted, is for someone to say, this is okay. You're just in shock and you're going to be fine. But I feel like everything I was reading or everything I was seeing on social media was literally just elation, happiness, gratitude. From the moment that you find out that you're pregnant, you instantly feel a bond and that you love, and you turn into Mother Nature. And I didn't get that. I still don't bloody have that now. Like, I feel like me, but I'm happy, and I've come to terms with that, and I feel at peace with that. Don't get me wrong. I talk to my bum, I talk to the baby, but in my way. And I think that's what I needed, is someone to say, this is okay to do it your way, and how you feel is totally fine. And you're not taking away from anything of someone who, might be struggling to conceive, or trying to conceive, or has struggled, or is going through IVF. Like, my thoughts and heart go out to all of them people. But if you're just in the camp that I was, and you do fall pregnant quite quickly, easily, like, it doesn't mean that you're not grateful for that. If you feel shock and sad and not overwhelmed with love, joy, and elation. And I think something else that I struggled with is that everybody around me was ecstatic, and it was like I was the only one who wasn't. And I feel so happy that I can talk about this now, because, and I'll be honest with you, like, I feel, God, that saying, it's good to talk. I didn't do that for 3 months, which is probably why I felt quite sad and alone for 3 months. Whereas now, just since Sunday, I feel so much better about all of this. So before we get to, like, where I'm at now, which is happy and fun and excited and still totally fucking petrified, I just want to touch on the sadness, because one of my friends really explained this to me so well, and I'm so thankful for her. So basically, obviously, when I found out, I was like super shocked. And then I said, I said I wasn't sad, but actually I was sad. And I wasn't sad I was pregnant. That's not why. I was sad at everything that was going to change because I was pregnant. This is where I'm 100% going to cry. So I was sad because I love my life. Great friends. I have a fantastic business. I've got a lovely husband. We get on really well. We do lovely things. And I feel like everyone always tells you when you have a baby, everything changes. And I do not think it's not going to change. I'm not like naive to think that. Everyone says everything changes, nothing will be the same. And for me, and again, I'm telling this and I'm sharing this because in case anyone else feels like this, but for me, what about when you don't want certain things to change? And that's scary. It's not that I don't think mine and Ol's relationship is going to change or my time management around work is going to change. I don't think that, but I still think it's okay to be sad about that and to be, scared of that challenge that's coming, because that's, they say no one can prepare you for motherhood and your journey. And even though it's all we've done for like millions, trillions of years, but still when it's you, I do still feel like, oh shit, what's going to change? What's going to happen? Like, and I think that was the sadness came from that I was starting to grieve that my old life was not going to be the same again. And before I could, this is so true as well, before I got to the place where I am now, which is okay, I'm starting to be excited. I'm starting to embrace the change, and I'm sure it's going to be amazing, and I'll manage. Like, I've really had to fucking coach myself and be like, look what you've done in the past 5 years. You can do this. You can nail this. Like, I really have. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm so happy that my event is coming up next weekend about being empowered, because I feel like what I wanted that to be about, it is totally going to be that. But I'm going to be surrounded by other people that can inspire me as well. Anyway, moving on from the events. But yeah, so for me, to get to where I am now, of being that, embracing that change that's coming, I had to grieve and I had to sit with the feelings of, okay, let's go through this process of the old life is going to change, and that's okay. And it's okay to be sad about that. And I feel incredibly lucky because I know that people have children because they feel like something's missing in their life. And I feel lucky that I didn't feel like that. That I felt like, I wanna have a family. That was why I wanted to have a baby. I remember saying this to my friend, actually, is that she was saying she felt like there was something missing. And I was like, I just don't feel like that. Like, I feel like I'm excited to have that chapter, but I feel very fulfilled in my life. And I think I don't know. You'll have to tell me. I do think like how I feel is probably quite niche. I don't know. That I'm just guessing. But I say that is because I haven't heard anyone talk about that. I haven't heard anyone apart from my friend that said it's okay because you're grieving that your old life is going to be gone and your new life is going to start. She said that to me, and I thought that is 100% it. I haven't heard anything of that on social media. Nothing. And I feel like that is what I needed to hear. Then first few weeks when I was upset, and then I was upset at myself for being upset, and I didn't tell anyone, and I had no one to talk to. Like, that sounds, I don't mean I had no one to talk to, but I had my friends, but I just didn't have that person who was feeling like that could relate to me and that could advise me. And that is why I wanted to do this podcast, because this isn't going to be for everyone, and I probably are going to have people that don't relate to this, and that's okay. Oh, but if there is someone who listens to this and just has a sigh of relief and just thinks, fucking hell, that is where I am. And I feel like the type of women that do listen to this, we are in our 30s, we are like career driven, we are motivated, we want the best out of life. Maybe we don't have children yet, maybe we want children, maybe we don't know if we want children. To be in that position of where you feel like you've got your shit together and you've worked hard and you're in your 30s and you are settled, to then have everything that you love, like sort of, not that you love, but everything about a life that you feel fulfilled and love to be overturned. It's fucking hard to get your head around, and that is totally 100% okay. It's okay to be sad about it, because to be sad, to go through that process, means that you are growing, changing, learning, and you're going to come out the other side and be like, okay, I'm ready now. It's like everything. It's like when we go through a breakup, you have to go through the sad, the woe is me, the grief to close it, and then to be excited about the next bit. And I do feel like, why are we not talking about this? is it taboo? I don't know. I'm just on the podcast like being open now, but I feel like if I didn't talk about this, I wouldn't be true to myself, because I genuinely thought, from everything I'd seen on social media, from everyone I'd spoke to, from all the pregnancy people I'd seen and everything, I thought I was going to get pregnant, be elated, overpowered with joy, turn into Mother Nature, have an instant bond, and it was just going to be, I'm pregnant, smooth, done. What a fucking illusion that is. Well, it was for me anyway. If you are one of them people that got that, wow, you've been gifted, okay? Lucky you, be grateful, you know. I wouldn't say I'm jealous, but I'm not, because I feel like each ride comes with a lesson, okay? That's how I feel. Like, I'm grateful now because, like I said, I'm 14 weeks now. So the first 3 months was basically that in a nutshell. Was shock, grief, up and down, and then I've written other symptoms as well. And for me, again, we had an 8-week reassurance scan, just wanted an early scan. And I thought, right, well, after this, I'll do a U-turn, I'll be like overjoyed. And it was never like that for me. It was never an instant thing. It wasn't one day I woke up and felt like, oh my God, it's amazing. Apart from actually when I put it out on Instagram and then started talking about it, that was a big turning point. But for me, it was like getting my head around it, and it was a process. Yeah, I think that's enough on that chapter. I feel better. I know this is a very selfish podcast for me, but like I said, I feel better sharing that, because I absolutely 1,000,000% know I'm not the only person in the world that's ever felt like that. But God, people who keep it in, or even worse, try and like mask it. Oh, like I am not that person. So when I put that pregnancy announcement on, I was like, Ollie deserves a medal, because he would come in every day and be like, are you okay? And I would be like, no. I feel really, I 100% lost my sparkle. And you know what that knock-on effect really had on me is my work. Not that I was fake, because when I got into work, I was in work, but how open and honest I am on Instagram. How I can't be fake. I wouldn't even know where to start being fake. Like, I am just me, and I always say this, but this is why I'm not probably like influencer famous and what do they call it, Instagrammable, because I just can't be like that. Like, I'm sitting here in a Nike trackie. Do you know what I mean? That's not even do, but do you know what I mean? I see people who do these pods and they're like full face, dressed up, gorgeous, whatever. But like, for me, I just wanted to be honest. And Ollie would come in and be like, are you okay? And I'd say, no, I'm really not. And I lost my sparkle, and I felt like I couldn't be the person I wanted to be, and to come on Instagram and be like, I'm feeling really down, because I hadn't told anyone. And it's tough, innit? Because I remember always thinking, I didn't really like the wait until 12 weeks to tell people. But at the same time, so we told like our mums and our closest friends, because I thought, if this doesn't go to plan and something happens, I want people to around me know, so they can support me. So anyone who I felt like I wanted to support me through that, we told we were pregnant. But I always thought I would announce it earlier on Instagram. And you know what? I was definitely in a mindset of how I felt at that time, where I felt sad and I felt grief. I was like, oh my God, I can't go on Instagram and tell people I'm pregnant when I'm not even, elated over it. Like, how bad's that going to be? But I feel like that was a bit of a vicious cycle, as I felt like that because I wasn't talking about it. Yeah, so there we go on that one. At least we know, girls. So I am back. I do feel like when I spoke about it, once that Instagram relief was there and people know, and I put a couple of posts on about how I've been feeling, and people saying I felt like that, thank God, I had literally people saying I can't wait to listen to this podcast, because they probably needed it 3 months ago. So yeah, that was really nice to connect with people on that level. And I feel like now I have massively turned a corner, and yeah, like I said, the feelings that I'm feeling now are less shock. Should I write it down here? So I'm gonna go through symptoms in a minute. but I'm feeling less shock. Every day I've been grateful. I'm so grateful. Like I really, really am. Like I'm a little bit like, not what's the word, not over grateful, but sacred grateful. Like wow, that did happen for us very, very quickly, very luckily, and I'm so grateful for that. Excited, more nervous than excited. More nervous about what's to come. And I'm sure the longer the pregnancy goes on, the more excited I hopefully get and the less nervous I get. Weird, not really nervous about the birth thing, nervous about like life after and how much that changes. I don't know if anyone else feels like that, but yeah, that's the most thing I'm nervous about. Not nervous about looking after a baby. So I guess that is like my mother nature side kicking in maybe. But yeah, more nervous about how life changes, and yeah, that's what I'm more nervous about. Okay, so where are we? Half an hour. Okay, maybe we'll just do 40 minutes, another 10 minutes. Because I want to do, like, I want this to be about how I felt initially and sort of like the symptoms that I felt as well in the first trimester. Because it will also help to relate like mentally. So I've spoke about how I felt like feeling shock wise, but one of the other biggest things I've struggled with, and it is body image. And I was voicing with one of my friends about this just this morning, talking about the podcast and saying that this is so right. This is going to so hit home, I think, of a lot of people. The intense pressure we get on us as women to be body conscious, to look after our body is from society's point of view, to look a certain way, having all of these things drilled into us. And then as soon as you're pregnant, it's like, embrace it. Embrace your change. You're going to put weight on. It's so fine. Embrace it. You're pregnant. It's fine. And it's like instant overnight. That 1 minute, it's be conscious, be strong, be this, be that, do this. And then overnight, it's everything changes. Embrace it. Your body's going to change. It doesn't matter if you put a bit of weight on, like, and it's like, what? Now, again, this podcast is all my opinion, but for me, I'm probably doing my job as well and being in the industry that I'm in. Huge struggle. Huge. Still struggling now. Still fully open. Still struggling now. And I hope that talking about this is going to help me. Who knows? But absolutely still struggling now with that. And I spoke to my friend Josie, who is also another coach and also pregnant. And she basically just said to me exactly what I'm doing now. She was like, you were going to look back and feel like you've spent like a big part of your pregnancy worrying about like what you look like. And I was like, yeah, 100%, 100%, that's how I feel. And it's like I can't tap into the part of my brain that says, don't do that. Come on, babe, don't do that. Like when we were in Lanzarote, I said to Ollie, I need a coach. I 100% want a coach to get me through while I'm pregnant, like mentally. And I could not find a coach that I was connected with. I spent hours, so I haven't got one. I'm doing it myself. I'm pre and postnatal qualified. I know my calories. I know my training. I've got a CrossFit coach who's absolutely amazing. She's going to help me through that. She's pre and postnatal, but like, yeah, offloading wise and having that. I've actually spoke to one of my friends who's a coach today. I sound like I've got loads of mates. I'm like, spoke to that one. But yeah, I think I'm going to offload to him and he can be like my little debrief. But yeah, I couldn't find a coach I connected with. There is something coming. And I cannot wait to do it. But now is not the time to talk about it. Couple of weeks, guys, it's on its way. So that is actually stemmed from how I felt. Like, that's what I'm putting out, so that'd be great. But yeah, got a proper going off train of thought here. So symptoms wise, bad body image was like initially one of the things, because basically what I said, after Christmas, I'd put a bit of weight on. Planning was to do a little tidy up and then, feel good for spring. Couldn't do that. Okay. You don't diet when you're pregnant. You can eat healthily, but you just don't want to be in a calorie deficit or doing excess cardio training, stuff like that. You want to give your body the best chance to have a successful pregnancy. So I still track my food. I'm still doing my training. Luckily, oh my God, training hasn't subsided. I feel like I'm going to do a second episode on training there. I'll add that in. But basically, bad body image was probably my biggest symptom, to the point where I was looking to speak to someone professionally, even as recent as like the last few weeks. But again, since I've started to come to terms with it, it's so mad, isn't it? Like, talking about it more, I just feel better, and I do feel like, okay, I can embrace this, like I'm in control of it. But anyway, so I mean, it's so honest, this podcast. I hope I don't regret it. Okay, other symptoms I had then. So this was the biggest symptom for me. From about, excuse me, guys, from about week 5 to week 12, genuinely, week 12 on the dot, was nauseousness. Jizzle. And not just in the morning, fucking 24 hours a day. It was relentless. It was relentless. So the only 2 things that stopped me feeling sick were exercising and biscuits. I kid you not. Now, people who have been pregnant and experienced that, I'm sorry, because I genuinely always felt like, and now I feel like, God, you were such a naive cow. I always felt like when people say, I just couldn't eat anything but cheese, butties and carbs and stuff, and I just feel like, could you have eaten a little bit better? Well, now I feel like a bitch, don't I? Because as much as so what I did, because I get that now 100%, I had to start having carbs with my veggies. I love all veggies anyway, and I didn't necessarily go off them, but a plate of veg on their own was just like, no. So I started having carbs like with all my veggies and stuff. So I'd start having like wraps or even just like pasta, rice, things like that. I did eat healthily. I didn't turn to, I haven't like been smashing chippies and mackies and all stuff like that. But yeah, carbs and then biscuits. So I probably would say this was a bit of a craving. It wasn't like insatiable, but every like 2 hours and the sickness would come back, I would then go and have to have like rich tea, ginger nuts, really crap biscuits as well, like proper nan biscuits, digestives. One of the biggest thing for me was I drove to Morrison's one day because I'd run out of biscuits. Oh, my clients will laugh in a minute. And the only biscuit I could think of, I don't know if anyone remembers these are proper nan biscuits, were lady fingers. So the biscuits that go at like at the bottom of the trifle, they are like cardboard. Okay, they are genuinely the hardest, driest, crunchiest biscuits ever. They're not even in the biscuit aisle, they're in the bacon aisle. I had to go and buy them because I was like, I need something that is sweet and crunchy. I just needed something that I could just be like, this is why I think I know it was a craving. It wasn't necessarily the biscuit, but that's why I think I like things like ginger nuts, rich tea, digestives, like things that like crunchy but really plain. Anyway, so biscuit gate happened, like I said, for probably about 6 weeks. And then when you tell your mum and dad, I can only start eating biscuits, what does my dad do? My dad drops off about 7 packs of biscuits and was like, yeah, babe. Like, I get it. People just want to look after you. Not helpful. So yeah, biscuit gate, Rivita. If anyone noticed, I was posting like eggs and Rivita on my story. That was another thing. So I think for me, it's like the crunch and every 2 hours. So think about this logically, right? If I was eating, and I think all of this like just really comes together. I was having biscuit, after Christmas, put a bit of weight on. Then I went into like this sickness thing, and I think it might have been earlier. It was like when we come back from Lanzarote. So 2, 3, 4. So I was probably like 4 or 5 weeks pregnant. Yeah. So that's right, up until week 12. So it's a long time of eating biscuits. So eating biscuits, eating carbs, having bad body image, and then like not putting amazing food in because I was eating like a lot of crunchy biscuit, like processed carbs from someone who doesn't do that all the time. Like, it's no wonder my mental health like decreased a little bit. This is what I'm putting it down to. I do think it's a combination of things, but also I do think what you put in your body reflects how you feel out of it. And like I said, week 12, so this is nearly 3 weeks ago, I woke up and was like, I don't feel sick today. wow, like I remember feeling, I don't feel sick. I remember feeling different. And from then, so I was like, right, well, let me go back to eating a little bit, less biscuits, basically. Didn't need the biscuits. So I was eating more fruit. That's when I started getting, not necessarily a craving for fruit, but just wanted to put more health things in my body, just fresh carrots, celery, berries, grapes, peaches, mangoes, you name it. I'm like a fucking walking fruit aisle. So all of that stuff from week 12 is like what I started wanting. What happened after then? I started feeling better. Energy started coming up more. I just felt like I was getting a bit of my sparkle back. And I just do not think it was a coincidence that my food changed and my mood changed, because that rhymes, you know? So yeah, for me, they were like the big symptoms was body image, how I felt looking in the mirror. Oh, it's just so, I think I look back, I think, oh, want to give myself a hug. But yeah, just I don't even, I haven't changed a huge amount, I really haven't, but I just feel like I'm just not normally where I would sit to feel comfortable. And my boobs have got about 5. That was one of the biggest things to happen. Boobs are about 5 times as big, uncomfortable, and everyone just keeps saying, thing and I get bigger. Do I look like I need to hear that? No. Okay. So biscuits and bad body image were the 2 biggest symptoms I had. I didn't have like really bad tiredness. I had a couple of days where I went to bed at 7:30, mid-afternoon. I'd have to go and get my head down for 10 minutes, but that was it. I'm really rare as well. Didn't feel tired in the morning, still got up, still trained, still tracking all my training. So I was so grateful for that. Randomly, one day I did have a nosebleed. Don't know whether that was a symptom. Googled it. Of course, it's a pregnancy symptom, but that was one. And then, yeah, so all of that was in the first 12 weeks. We then went for our 12-week scan. And I think I'm going to finish on this because it is quite a long one. Maybe next week, I'll just do like a bonus episode because I don't want all the podcasts to be about pregnancy stuff. But I will do a bonus one. I'm going to talk about food, supplements, and workouts from the first trimester as well, which I think will help people. So we went for our 12-week scan. I feel like, of course, I've missed stuff. 3 months is a long time to fill you in on. We went for our 12-week scan, and I feel like that was a mad turning point because I don't know what I was expecting. Bearing in mind, we had an 8-week scan where you're literally looking at like a blob. And then we went for our 12-week scan, and the woman didn't even say, "Are you ready?" She literally just she was a student nurse. She was lovely. She put this stuff on my belly. She put this, what's it called? Don't know. Someone's going to tell me what it's called, dongle or whatever, on my belly. On the screen, come up, baby, arms, legs moving. I was like, ah! I looked at Ollie. Ollie was like, ah! And both of us, again, so not Instagrammable, so not what you see and what you think of. Crying happiness. There's our little loved one. We were like, oh my fucking God, there's a baby in there. Like we hadn't had 3 months to get our head around it. But it was just like, okay, there's actually a baby. It's mad. I don't know if anyone else, but this is what I mean. And this is what we're going to sign off with. I do think it's very rare. What we see on Instagram is real. Okay. Well, it wasn't real for me. And I feel if I had better expectations and had listened to this podcast before I found out I was pregnant and went through the first 3 months, like, I think I would have felt a hell of a lot better. So yeah, the 12-week scan was just arms, legs, baby. Like, okay, there's definitely a kid in there. And it was moving its arms. And then you leave and then you feel exactly the same. And you just still feel like you're a bit fat and you're not showing. And oh, sorry, someone's knocking on the door. They'll be getting ignored. You just feel like you're just back to normal again. It's the maddest feeling. But yeah, so I am talking to the baby. The baby is with us now, listening to the podcast. And like I said, I'm going to end the podcast as I started it. I am incredibly grateful. And this episode is not me being upset that I'm pregnant or taking anything away from anyone trying to conceive or who has a different journey to me being pregnant. It's not. This is my view. And for me, this is what I needed to hear when I found out, so I didn't feel as alone or as abnormal. That's what I felt like. I felt like, why am I the only person that felt like this? And I want to say I hope it helps, because I do, but I appreciate also maybe it just opens your eyes that if you did have, you found out you were pregnant, you were trying for a long time, you were incredible. Because I get that. I get that someone who was trying to conceive will take every symptom and every feeling like under the sun. And I get that. And I, sending so many positive vibes to you. But this isn't about like taking away from any of that. It's literally just what I needed to hear when I went through my first trimester. Okay, so I know this can be a hard subject to listen to, and again, it's really difficult. And as a person who puts her life on Instagram and puts her life on a podcast and shares all this, it's such a fine line between what do we share and what do we not. And I think sometimes you've just got to, I just go in things with the best intentions and just hope that it lands that way. So yeah, right, we'll leave it there. 45 minutes, I'm done. Part one. Like I said, I am going to update you. I'm going to talk about food supplements, workouts that I've done in the first trimester. But again, I'm not a specialist in like the mental health around pregnancy. I am a specialist in pre and postnatal training and exercise. So if you do have any questions, you can drop me a message. I would appreciate it if you would want to share this, maybe share this with someone who would help, or on your socials, or leave me a rating if you enjoyed this. And as always, drop me a message and let me know what you thought. Guys, thank you so much for sharing this really special episode with me. I do appreciate you massively for supporting the podcast, and I will see you next time. As always, love you. Bye.